All eyes on the Lone Star State, the ultimate political arena. Can Senator John Cornyn hold off a primary surge from Ken Paxton and Wesley Hunt? And who will emerge from the Crockett Talarico showdown? We break down the polls, the players, and the path to victory. This is Battleground Texas.
I'm Greg Krugen, and this is Battleground Texas. The stage is set. 3 high-profile Republicans and 2 Democrats vying for a critical seat in the U.S. Senate. The primary is just weeks away. Here's what the candidates are saying.
So I'm going to be barnstorming this entire state, showing the kind of campaigner that I am. You know, I originally got elected to the State House by flipping a Trump district that no one thought was winnable. They thought it was a lost cause, but I ran an aggressive, unconventional campaign that brought people together. Well, I think if they actually look at my record, they're going to see a lot they agree with, even on some of these controversial topics.
So at the end of the day, what we've got to do is we've got to take advantage of the fact that I already am known. But what can we do with that? We can take the fact that I have traveled this entire country on behalf of other candidates, pushing and trying to make sure that people can have a better life. We allowed ourselves to be distracted and divided. That's what we saw. We saw division. We saw them throwing immigrants into one community, Black folk into one community, Jewish folk into another community. What we saw was them able to divide us. And instead of acknowledging that they are dividing us so that they can conquer us. And so what I want to do is make sure that I can unite us. Listen, this doesn't mean that we will agree on everything, but the reality is that those basics we should agree about. We should agree that people should have access to an education in this country. We should agree that people should have access to food in this country. We should agree that jobs should be available. And right now, we know under this administration, in less than a year, we have lost 1.1 million jobs.
Well, it just demonstrates to me that the Democratic Party has become the captive of the left wing, if you can call it left, or progressive wing of the Democratic Party. The same people that saw Mayor Mondani, a Democratic socialist, really probably more of a communist in New York City. And we've seen here in the Congress that even people like Chuck Schumer have been hijacked by the Bernie Sanders and AOC wing of the Democratic Party. So I think she is unelectable in a general election in Texas. Texas is still a conservative red state, but I'm sure that she'll get a significant portion of the vote, not enough to win, just from the pushback against President Trump. People don't like President Trump and his policies, but she can't win.
I've always viewed this situation and viewed this race as not necessarily who supports us. It's more about what the people want. It's not about that. It's more about what the people of Texas want, and there clearly is a lane for someone like me. Hence the reason why we're here today. You have a 24-year incumbent who is polling in the 20s, and that should tell you a lot. Ted Cruz was brought up here earlier. Ted Cruz was polling in the high 80s in the Republican primary. And so what that shows you is that there clearly is an appetite for people to move on. And the only thing that I want to do is give the people of Texas a true conservative option. Someone who is going to vote the right way, someone who is going to preserve our southern border, someone who's going to ensure that we don't have gun control legislation, someone who is going to back President Trump as I have from day one when I first ran. President Trump has endorsed me 3 times. I was the first person to endorse him in the country in this last race. And so that's the kind of leadership that people want in Texas, because President Trump, amongst the Republican primary, is doing very well.
Look, the first thing is, since John Cornyn has been in office in 2002, the budget deficit was 6.2 trillion. Now we're over 36 trillion, maybe 37 by today, who knows. He has never been the guy to speak out against that type of spending. We definitely need to do something about that. And look, I'm not going to be the guy that's going to be congratulated by Joe Biden for restricting Second Amendment rights. I'm not going to be the guy that's fighting Donald Trump on a border wall. I'm going to stick with the president on these issues. As soon as if John Cornyn were elected for his 5th term, and by the way, he's been in office since I was in college, and I'm 62. If he were reelected, he's going to be back to the real John Cornyn, not this fake John Cornyn that came about during the last few months since I announced.
Frankly, the Attorney General, who has been leading in the polls until recently, has gotten a lot of baggage that I don't think Texas voters really quite understand yet, but they will once this campaign is over. And I think Congressman Hunt is going to find out what a big state that Texas really is.
We're going to start with the U.S. Senate race, the Democrat primary. Jasmine Crockett, the congresswoman from Dallas who has big name recognition when it comes to Democrat politicians nationwide, jumped in the Senate race in the 11th hour. She jumped in her congressional race in the 11th hour as well. Greg, Crockett is a big name. Colin Allred dropped out of the race, clearing some of the field for her. But James Talarico is still a formidable Democratic candidate.
Yeah, but let's be clear here. Crockett's entire campaign, her chances of winning are all predicated on a roll of the dice. And that roll of the dice leading to a Ken Paxton being the Republican nominee. Look, everything I have seen shows she loses double figures to John Cornyn, the incumbent, and probably loses to Wesley Hunt. She's got to have Paxton prevail in that primary and runoff to have a chance. Look, and there are some downside to that. She's also going to energize the Republican base to show up, and that could have a huge impact on the congressional races and the I guess, quest by the Republicans to add 5 seats. They will have a much better chance of adding those 5 seats now that the map has been upheld by SCOTUS, with Jasmine Crockett at the top of the ticket for the Democrats. And so, you know,
yeah,
this
Greg,
is...
but I think that she still loses to Paxton. And I think she loses big because basically what she's going to do is that she's going to energize the GOP base. That's the sleeping giant here in Texas. And if you put Crockett on the ballot against even a Paxton, that's going to energize the base. What's going to happen on the Talarico side is that I think his path to the primary victory goes through Austin and San Antonio. He has got to have the Hispanic vote on the Democratic side come out and lift him up. And if he's able to do that, he can get maybe El Paso and then puts Houston into play and then basically says, all right, Crockett, you're going to win Dallas. What do you think about that, Stephen?
I mean, that definitely is a good strategy for him. I mean, he has to, and we looked at that TSU poll that came out not too long ago. He leads with Hispanic men. He leads with white men. Those are votes that he's going to need to really turn out. According to the poll, Crockett leading, of course, with African Americans, men and women. But yeah, he's going to need a groundswell of the Latino vote and also the white vote. Now, on the Republican side, guys, I mean, is this all but certain that there's going to be a runoff in this, Greg?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just waiting to see who survives. Look, I think that Cornyn has a lot on his plate here. He's got to attract moderates into this race, into a primary to offset the base, which is sticking with either Paxton or Wesley Hunt. If he can attract enough moderates with his heavy-duty war chest, he can win a slot and fight head-to-head in the runoff. But if he's the odd man out, then Wesley Hunt can argue that he is the least sullied of the 2 finalists and has the best chance to win in October, November against whoever Democrats nominate.
I know Wesley Hunt hates when reporters say he's playing spoiler, but does he have a realistic chance of making it to the final head-to-head in a runoff, Rudy?
Yeah, and what I was going to say was that I've been hearing and talking with a lot of party operatives and outsiders watching this race, is that Hunt has made a tactical, in their opinion, is making a tactical error by aligning himself and hooking his campaign wagon to Paxton's wagon. He needs the separation and basically make peace with Cornyn and say, you're the senior guy, it's time, you've done well, you've made some mistakes, it's time to hand over that mantle, the baton, and let the younger guy do it and not be so pro-Paxton. Clearly, we have established that Texas is a battleground. It's a big new year, and there's going to be a lot of fights, and we're going to cover them. We'll see you then.
I'm Atiana San Miguel. Thank you for watching our story. If you'd like to see more like it, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Also, be sure to watch us weekday mornings at 7 and 11 a.m. on KCWX. Bye. See you on the next one.